Hey guys, welcome back to the Advanced Enemies series, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make a self-destructing enemy in Roblox. So here we have the enemy, and if I get too close it just does that funky animation, but it blows up, and as you can see it did damage to me, which is the main point. Also it will explode if it dies, if you were wondering too, so like if you killed it from a range it will immediately explode. But yeah, that's what I'm going to show you how to do, so let's get into it. Okay guys, so I've opened up a new base plate, and the first thing you're going to need to do is make your character for the enemy, obviously, and I already made this one. It's very simple. You should probably make yours a little better. I also added an animation to the character as well, which is just the explode animation that I made, which you can feel free to add your own and make your own animation. If you don't know how to do that, feel free to check out some videos on YouTube because there's plenty out there. But anyways, the next thing we're gonna do is make a folder in the workspace for all of the players' characters in the game. And I'm gonna show you how we're getting those characters into that folder in a second, and it's gonna be through this script. So I'm just gonna explain what we're doing here in a second. If you watched the last video, you already know what we're doing. But I'm just gonna code this script for a second, and I'll get back to you when I'm done. Okay guys, so I just coded this script. It's only 3 lines. Basically all that it does is whenever a player joins the game, it waits for the player's character to load, and then it adds the character to this folder, which is in the workspace. So it won't affect the game. The player will still be in the workspace, which is the proper area for the character, but it will be in this folder, which will be easier for our enemy to kind of loop through. So then we can easily get a character and then follow it a lot easier without creating as much lag, I guess you could say, and it also is just easier to script. So yeah, just type out these 3 lines in this thing and just add that folder to the workspace. But yeah, the next thing we're gonna do is add a script into the enemy, and this is going to be the main like AI script, so we'll call it the self-destruct enemy AI. Yeah, so there we have it, self-destruct enemy AI. It's kind of a long name, you could probably shorten that, but that's what we're gonna call it. Anyways, so the next thing we need to do is make the enemy find a player and then follow that player. So that's what I'm gonna code right now, and then I'll get back to you and explain what it does. Okay guys, so I just wrote out this code, and when I was testing it I actually found an error, and that's only because I spelled characters wrong on this folder, so make sure you spell your stuff right. But now it should work. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna explain what it does. So this is all the code that I wrote. It's kind of a lot. Well, it looks like a lot, but it's pretty simple. Basically, I just named these 2 variables. The first one is the humanoid of the enemy. Second one is the humanoid root part. And then I wrote out this function which finds the nearest torso, or we'll just say player, honestly. That's a better name. Just give me a second. But basically the function just loops through all of the player's characters in the game, and basically it figures out which character is closest, and it can easily loop through all the characters because we made this characters folder and this characters handler script. So that's why we did that. But yeah, basically it'll just loop through them all and it'll find the closest one, and it will keep calling this function to do that through the use of this while loop. And basically, yeah, if we find a target, then we will follow the target. And that's basically all that this code does. And again, if we play, it'll just keep following us, obviously. It doesn't do anything though, so that's what we need to do next, is make it explode when it gets close enough and do damage to us. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do now. But the first thing that we need to actually go ahead and do is make a hitbox and like a hit area that like indicates the area that the explosion will hit, so that we can like actually detect what players are in that area and do damage to those players, and also show the players like where the explosion will hit so they can like dodge it. And so I already made the assets and I'm just gonna paste them in right here. Okay, so I pasted in the assets, or like the things I just talked about, but I'm just gonna show them to you real quick. So I just put them in the workspace. So here we have the hit area. So basically this will be put in the workspace when he's kind of like charging up or getting ready to explode, and this will kind of show the players what they have to run away from, or like the area that the explosion will do. So I just made a cylinder, made it really flat, and made it semi-transparent. And then this is the hitbox. This is the actual hitbox. Like, so any players that are actually in this will take damage, and this will be placed basically in the same area as the hit area. And it's the same size as the hit area, it's just taller so that it can detect players, you know, and actually do the actual explosion. But yeah, these are the two assets. This one, by the way, is fully invisible. And make sure that both of them don't have any cankelide. We don't need that. And make sure they're both anchored, obviously. But yeah, I'm just going to put these back inside of server storage, and then we can get right back to scripting it. And I'm gonna just code out what we need to do next and explain what it does. So yeah, okay guys, so I just wrote out basically the rest of the script for this enemy, and I wrote out a lot, as you can see, but don't worry, I'm gonna explain what all that does. It is quite a lot though. But anyways, starting with the variables, so we made a lot of variables. So we made an exploding range, which is like basically the range that the player needs to be within the enemy in order for the enemy to decide to explode, essentially. And then this is a debounce that we don't need. I don't know why this is in here. Just ignore that debounce, but regardless of that, anyways, we have this exploding variable here, which basically equals false right now, but this is just saying like whether it's exploding or not. And then this is the blast area, and then this is the hitbox. So I just defined both of these. Those are in server storage, if you remember. And then I have the explode track, which is the animation, which you can make your own, obviously. And then I also said humanoid.break joints on death equals false. And this is just so that like even if the player kills the enemy while it's actively exploding, it won't just like break apart and kind of look stupid, I guess. But yeah, and then I defined a stop function here, which makes the humanoid just stop in its tracks, like just stop moving, essentially. So the enemy will just stop moving. because the walk to part, which is the part it's trying to walk to, will be its own humanoid root part. And then the next thing we wrote down was a big function, and this is just the explode function. It looks sort of complex, but it really isn't. Basically, it sets exploding to true, so it's actively exploding, and then it stops, so it activates the stop function, and then it creates a clone of the blast area, which is in server storage, changes the position to the root part's position minus like a certain y amount, and this will, you should probably change that depending on the height of your character and like where your humanoid root part is positioned, I guess. So yeah, feel free to tweak around with this value. These zeros don't matter, but you should tweak around with this to make sure that the blast area will be directly on the ground, I guess. And then I also parented it to the workspace, obviously, so it actually appears, and then it plays the explode track animation, and then it waits 1 second, which is basically the whole time of this animation, and then it destroys the the exploding area because we don't need it anymore, and then it creates a hitbox, it creates a clone of the hitbox, changes the position of it to the root part, and it parents it to the workspace, and then it essentially just gets all the parts that were in it in the split second that it was there, because it instantly gets destroyed after this. But basically, it gets all the parts that were in it, and then it loops through all the parts, and if it finds a humanoid root part, then if it finds a humanoid in the parent of that root part, essentially, then it will do 50 damage to that humanoid, and then it'll destroy the hitbox because we don't want to hit them multiple times, even though you couldn't, because that's not how this works, but you want to destroy it anyway, and then it destroys the enemy as well. So once it's done exploding and doing the damage here, then it just destroys the enemy. And then I also wrote a function which activates when the enemy dies. So when it dies, it sets the root part, it makes the root part anchored, essentially. And the reason for this is so that, again, it doesn't really mess with the enemy when it's like exploding, like for this, this did the same thing, like this line of code. So yeah, basically it just makes it look better, because sometimes like you might try and kill the enemy while it's exploding, and we don't want it to kind of fall over while it's exploding, you know. But yeah, so, and then it also detects if it's not already exploding, because if you try and kill it while it's exploding, we don't want it to explode twice or whatever, and then it'll explode if it's not already exploding when it dies. So yeah, that's what that died function does. It just detects when it dies, and it will do that. And then I changed the while loop down here, so I said if it's not exploding, then it will try and find a target, and then it will try and move to it if the target is not within the exploding range, which is 10 studs. And then obviously if it is within range of the studs, and it does exist, then we're just gonna explode, essentially. So yeah, that's basically how we activate this function. And so yeah, that's basically how the enemy works, and this is all the code that you're gonna need for the enemy. You can obviously tweak the hitbox and whatnot, and like the animation you probably want to make better. Probably want to add an explosion effect as well, but that is all you need to make an exploding enemy in Roblox, or a self-destructing enemy, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching the video, and if you have any questions or any requests or need any help, please join my Discord, and also add me on Twitter or follow me on Twitter. And I will see you guys in the next video. So, bye.